Once upon a time, there was a king who loved to travel incognito among his people. His closest advisor, the courtier, often accompanied him on these journeys. The two were inseparable, constantly discussing and debating various matters. The king would often challenge the courtier's optimistic view of the world. But no matter what, the courtier always responded with, "Everything happens for the best." One day, while hunting in the forest, the king shot a leopard. As he dismounted to claim his prize, the wounded animal made a final desperate attack, biting off the king's pinky finger. Furious and in pain, the king summoned the courtier to share his grief over drinks. But the courtier simply smiled and said, "Your Majesty, don't be upset. Everything happens for the best." Angered by this response, the king snapped, "If I threw you into the dungeon right now, would you still say that?" The courtier, still smiling, replied, "If that's what you decide, then yes, I believe it would be for the best." Infuriated, the king ordered the courtier to be imprisoned. A month later, after his wound had healed, the king decided to go on another journey, this time alone. He ventured deep into a remote part of the forest and was captured by a group of native tribespeople. They were preparing to offer a human sacrifice to their god at the next full moon. As the king faced this dire situation, the tribe's shaman noticed that the king was missing a part of his finger. Horrified, the shaman declared, "This man is not a perfect offering. The gods will be angered if we sacrifice him." The tribespeople immediately released the king, who returned to his palace, deeply shaken but alive. He ordered the courtier to be released from the dungeon and invited him to a feast. "Your words were true," the king admitted, raising his glass. "If I hadn't lost my finger, I would have been sacrificed. But what about you? You spent a month in the dungeon. How could that have been for the best?" The courtier took a sip of wine and calmly replied, "Your Majesty, if I hadn't been in the dungeon, I would have been with you. And when the tribespeople found you unsuitable for sacrifice, they would have turned to me." The king laughed heartily and said, "You were right all along. Everything does happen for a reason." This story reminds us that when faced with difficulties, we shouldn't lose hope or focus only on the present. Instead, we should look ahead, stay optimistic, and trust that even in tough times, there's a greater plan at work. Once upon a time, one day, an old tiger fell ill and lay quietly in his den, occasionally letting out pitiful groans of pain. The heartbreaking sounds spread through the nearby forest, catching the attention of the other animals. One by one, they came to visit the tiger, expressing their concern and sympathy. Hearing about the tiger's severe illness, a fox decided to pay a visit as well. As the fox approached the entrance of the den, it heard the tiger's groans growing louder, filled with sorrow and anguish. The sound tugged at the heartstrings of all who listened. Initially, the fox planned to step inside to check on the tiger, but as soon as it lifted a paw toward the den, it stopped. Its sharp ears twitched, and its bright eyes scanned the ground outside the den. Pausing to think for a moment, the fox slowly pulled its paw back and began to circle the entrance, moving carefully, yet deliberately. From inside the den, the old tiger noticed the fox lingering outside and called out, with a hint of reproach in his voice, "Fox, you've come all this way. Why won't you come in to see me?" The fox looked toward the tiger and replied calmly, yet meaningfully, "I've observed the ground carefully. There are countless footprints leading into your den, but not a single one leading out. Tell me, how could I possibly risk stepping inside?" Hearing this, the old tiger fell silent, unable to offer a response. In any situation, stay alert, know your surroundings, and protect yourself first. Kindness should never come at the The biggest secret of the lawn care industry is that they're not making money by going house to house mowing lawns. There was a man who struggled for 20 years mowing lawns until he discovered a single method that helped him pay off all his debt and even buy a 5,000 square foot house. So, How did he do it? One day, while trimming grass in a neighborhood, the old man met a young woman who stopped to chat. Intrigued, she asked, "You've been doing this for years. Why are you still out here working so hard?" The old man sighed and replied, "I don't have much choice. My kids moved out of town, and I do this to cover my living expenses. Plus, I enjoy the work." She nodded sympathetically and asked, "How much do you make in a month?" He said, "About $2,000, but after helping my grandkids with their school expenses, there's not much left." Hearing this, the young woman said, "I have an idea that could help you make an extra $3,000 to $5,000 a month. Are you interested?" The old man's eyes lit up. "Of course. What's your idea?" She explained, "Right now, you're limited to how many lawns you can physically mow in a day. But what if you changed how you approached your business?" The old man looked puzzled. "What do you mean?" Smiling, she said, "I know a company that makes custom yard signs at a very low price, just $1 per sign. What if you ordered a batch of these signs with your contact information and a simple message like, 'Reliable lawn care, call today,' and place them in the yards you service, with permission from the homeowners, of course. Neighbors and passers-by will see the signs and call you whenever they need lawn care." The old man hesitated. "That sounds great, but wouldn't I lose money paying for signs?" She chuckled and explained, "Let's do the math. Suppose you distribute 100 signs for $100. Each sign stays in a yard for months, maybe even years. During that time, anyone in the neighborhood who needs lawn care will think of you and give you a call. You won't need to knock on doors or advertise elsewhere. Customers will come to you." He nodded slowly. "That does make sense. Then what?" The young woman continued, "After you've established yourself in one neighborhood, move on to the next. Over time, you could hire a small team to help you cover more ground. Eventually, you'd have so many calls coming in that you wouldn't need to mow a single lawn yourself. You'd just manage the business." Excited, the old man grabbed her hands and said, "This is brilliant. I've been doing lawn care for decades and never thought of something like this." The young woman smiled and said, "Making money isn't complicated. With the right system in place, the profits will come naturally." So why do some people leave their 9-to-5 jobs and end up making more money, while those who grind away still struggle to get by? The answer is in this book. I Will Teach You to Be Rich,